Wow.
Okay, guys, sorry I am late. I'm like 4 minutes late because I know I posted it saying, "Oh, catch me at 5 p.m." and it's like 4 minutes past. I'm so sorry. I was waiting for a shipment from UPS, and it came exactly at 5. So I didn't want to, be rude. I had to answer the door, but I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, so part 2 of reading about Ashtoreth. She is, if you call part 1, you would see that I was doing the introduction about the Unholy Trinity. Okay, so this is part 2. If you want to know what happened, how I started it, check out part 1 so you can see the explanation and how I said that everything from the past connects to now. It's crazy. So we're going to continue on with part 2 where I left off. Let me just find the place where I left off. Okay, so this is where we left off. The last sentence I said was, so what was the outcome? Did the Jewish people follow the commandments given to them? Okay, the answer in here that I'm reading, no. Okay, so here we go on, part 2, about talking about Ashtoreth, which is known as the goddess of sexuality, and which was really a demon, and how the unholy trinity, they were for Satan or Lucifer, whatever you want to call him, whatever, and how it's going to connect from even way back in the past with the Israelites to now. So gag, there's still a couple of more parts, but I just want to make it sound so juicy so you could be interested and get into it and be like, oh, I want to know what's next. So anyway, okay, here we leave off at part 2. The Israelites didn't destroy them, but instead forced them into labor. So those who didn't understand, let me just read a little bit more from ahead. Okay, so all this led up was to paint a picture. 1, God's commandments. 2, God's blessings if nations follow God's commandments. 3, the consequences in graphic detail of not following these commandments. This structure is important to remember as it is how God structures all of his covenants. Commandment, blessing, consequence. So what was the outcome? Did the Jewish people follow the commandments given to them? No. The Israelites didn't destroy them, because the Israelites were to destroy the Canaanites, because the Canaanites were known for worshiping Ashtoreth and other demon gods. And the reason why God told them you have to destroy them, not just put them in prison, but destroy them completely, because if not, then they will influence you and your children, and so on and so on. And then they'll just lead you right back away from God. So okay, so the Israelites didn't destroy them, but instead forced them into labor camps. I mean, if God tells you, don't even put them in prison or whatever, because trust me, this is God talking. If he's telling you, trust me, don't do this, they should have listened, but hey, I'm not going to judge because we don't listen today. Well, we have a problem listening today. Okay, so, but instead forced them into labor camps. We see this used against Jews historically at later dates. Let me wait for the plane to pass. And they lived among them. Judges in the Bible, Judges chapter 1, 27 to 35. An angel of the Lord appeared to them and asked, why did they disobey these commandments? Then the angel reminded the Israelites that the people that were left alive will become traps and their gods will become snares, as they were told before in Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 12. Okay, this exact thing happened. The Bible tells us that within a generation or so, the people, oh honey, with these airplanes, woo! The enemy don't want me to say this because I'm exposing the truth. The exact thing happened. The Bible tells us that within a generation or so, the people began following other gods. forgot the Lord and served Baal. Now Baal is like supposed to be like, you know, the male version of Ashtoreth, but he is known for disobedience and something really bad. I mean, really bad. He's like above all of them. So the people began following other gods, forgot the Lord, and served Baal and the Asherahs. Judges chapter 3, verse 7. Here we see the initiation of worship of the unholy Trinity among God's people. What followed was years of repentance and returning to God, followed by years of captivity and oppression. This cycle continued decade after decade for generations. The Israeli people had disobeyed the orders of God after being told multiple times exactly what to do and the consequences of not listening. When God said that the Canaanite gods would be a snare to them, hindsight of history suggests that these false gods did repeatedly become a stumbling block. I would say for everyone. This was a violation of the covenant between God and his people that would last centuries, and which the consequences would be drawn out instead of miraculous immediate. This drawn out punishment that can also be seen in the Garden of Eden. God instructs Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, or the consequences will be death. Commandment, comma, blessing, comma, consequence. Again, of course, they did violate the covenant, and the punishment was immediate, but drawn out over time. These are the signs of God's fingerprints, consistencies in all of his covenants with man throughout time. Hold on one second. Okay, so this was, okay. We observe the ripple effect this obedience caused in the next several books of the Bible. King David's son Solomon worshipped Ashtoreth, which is the goddess of sexual, sexual lust, sensuality. Okay, so King David on Solomon worshipped Ashtoreth and Molech. Let me tell you, child, if you don't know what Molech is another demon that he was known specifically for killing children. Keep that in mind for later on. When you hear the other parts and I finish the whole story, you're going to gag up to date. Okay, so we observe the ripple effect disobedience caused in the next several books of the Bible. King David's son Solomon worshipped Ashtoreth and Molech. As a consequence, Israel was divided and the leadership was replaced by David's death. Later, King Asa's grandmother worshipped handmade images of Asherah, which is the same thing as Ashtoreth. Several kings later, we see the Philistines' pursuit of Saul in 1 Samuel chapter 31 ends with the Philistines hanging defeated Saul's bloody armor in the temple of the Ashtoreth. Ain't that messed up? 1 Samuel chapter 31 verse 10. As a symbolic triumph of their gods Ashtoreth over the God of Abraham. So they defeated Saul's bloody armor in the temple of the Ashtoreth as a symbolic triumph of their gods Ashtoreth over the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Unfortunately, we see this over and over again. It's almost as if God has some foresight in that not completely destroying the Canaanites in the first place, which God told them to destroy the Canaanites, but they didn't. Unfortunately, we see this over and over again. It's almost as if God has some foresight in that not completely destroying the Canaanites in the first place would cause his people to suffer over and over again. Ultimately, we can conclude that this act of defiance in Judges 1 had ripple effects to the generations that followed. Furthermore, it is important to see the prominence of these three gods in the Israeli history. Baal, Molech, and Ashtoreth are mentioned to be the deities that God's people stumbled upon time and time again. This is the unholy Trinity that I speak of. These are the demon spirits that have successfully tormented the people of God. Why does Israeli history matter today here in America? Stay tuned for part 3. Stay tuned for part 3. You're gonna get, woo! You're gonna go. I'm telling you, man, this is so deep and profound for me. It just gagged me. So anyway, guys, thank you for dealing this long. I'm trying to always make it short, so I like that I don't bore you guys and take too long talking. And like that, you can be interested in other parts that will be coming along. So stay tuned for part 3. And many blessings to you. God bless you. And may Jesus guide you to understand these things that he warned us about in the past and in today. And may you have an open mind just to give it a chance to open your mind and let it sink in, help you to understand things, and even later on you will see it will connect things with things of today. Okay, but anyway, I just want to say peace and love to everybody. God bless you, okay? Bye, guys. Bye on Instagram. Bye on YouTube. Let me stop YouTube first.